up, more church? How y'all doing today? Y'all, you're a bigger crowd than normal, and I think I know why, right? That some of you, man, you took advantage of that a longer spring forward and said, hey, let's go to the 11 o'clock service. Good. I'm glad that you did. Hopefully you're awake and alive and alert and like having a great time this morning. If I haven't got to meet you yet, my name is Whitney. I get to be the executive pastor here at More Church. And y'all, we have been in an incredible series over the last 9 weeks called Get Off the Throne. Has it been good for any of you? Has God challenged you? Has he pushed you into more? Have you felt yourself going, oh man, I let that sit on my throne? Y'all, I'm excited to continue in the conversation today. You know, last week, Pastor Trustin, he got us all, y'all, with that message about getting our purse off the throne. I know some of you dudes, I saw you when he said, dudes, your purse is on the throne, that you were a little offended, but then you knew he was right? And that the Holy Spirit convicted you. I want to tell you just a little behind the scenes, truth be told situation that last Sunday, during this service, during the message, while he's talking about how we have to have our junk organized, right, so we can be obedient, right, that right literally in the middle of the message, as he's talking about the things that we spend and waste money on, that we don't need to spend, all the things, right, my husband on the front row gets a notification from the Ring doorbell, and that Amazon man is walking up to my front door in the middle of church, y'all, and he looks at me and he's like, really? Really? This is what, you got to order something and have it delivered on Sunday? And I'm like, y'all, listen, I don't know. Maybe it was something for the house. I don't even know what it was. It was probably something I ordered at 11 o'clock at night that I didn't need. But that's fine. I repented. He repented. We got along, but then we might have had a fight on the front row. I don't know. Maybe we did. And so I don't know if any of you had bruised elbows when you went home last week, but hopefully you're continuing to lean into all that God is teaching us in this series as we learn to get off the throne. Psalms 103:19, the Lord has established his throne in heaven, and his kingdom rules over all. We've been talking about how God is the one who sits on his throne. He does as he pleases. He's in charge. He's almighty. He has a heavenly perspective that we don't have, and his ways are higher. His plan is greater. His perspective is best, and thank goodness I find so much comfort in that, because we as humans, y'all, can I just be honest? People be crazy. How many of you know people be crazy, right? On your way here today, I bet you were trying to get here on time. You're not fighting with your spouse. I guarantee it. You are not yelling at your kids, right? And you're in the lane driving here, and somebody gets over and cuts you off in front of you and just slows down. Why do they do that? Why do people slow down? Get behind me. Get behind me, Satan. Like, why are you doing that? It's so frustrating. You know, you go to the store sometimes, and the other day, we went to Chipotle at like 8 o'clock. They don't close till 10. And I was like, hey, can I get a chicken bowl? They're like, we're out of chicken. I was like, there's 2 more hours before you're closed. Well, we don't want to cook anymore right now. You know, we've got enough beef. And I'm like, people, this is your job. Like, this is what you got. Can you help me out, please, right? People be crazy. Sometimes, man, I get frustrated. The other day, I was at a coffee shop, and this lady, she set up like her entire home office at the coffee shop, right? Like, she got her screen, and she got her phone out, she's got her like files, all the things, right? And she's got her purse all set up, and then she's like, hey ma'am, excuse me, will you watch my stuff while I run to the restroom? And I'm like, sure. But you crazy lady, because just because I look cute with my blonde hair, you don't know. I might be a klepto. I might steal all your junk. By the time you come back, I stole your car, I stole your keys, I stole your computer, right? You have no idea, but you just crazy. You just gonna trust me. I don't know. A few weeks ago, we went to a conference that we go to every February. It's called C3 Conference. It's up in Fellowship Church up in Irving. We take our staff, we take a lot of our leaders, a lot of our key volunteers. We take about 50 to 60 people every year, because we go there, we learn, we grow, we put our feet in something bigger, something more, what we know God has called us to. And so we go there every year, and this year is no different. But a few years ago, we went, and can I tell you that my heart is that all the people would be included? That my heart is that all the people would feel a part, and part of that is sitting together and making us feel like we're a team, right? And that's hard to do when there's 50, 60 people, and no matter how many times I email them and say, please, I'll pay you $5 more per ticket if you'll just give me some saved seats, they will not do it. They will not do it. They say, oh, we like this chaos and madness that happens when they wait to open the doors 5 minutes before the service starts, right? And so one year we're standing outside. We're waiting in line. I've been standing there at the front just waiting for the moment where they're going to open the door so I can run in and help save all the seats for all the people, right? This is my ministry, guys. This is my ministry. And so I'm in line, and all of a sudden, these like young 20-somethings dudes, they just got there. They didn't even notice that I've been standing there for 45 minutes. It's fine. They got there, and they come and stand in front of me. And I'm like, that's fine, whatever. They're excited. They just want to get in. They're not going to cramp my style. There's a whole lot of seats in this auditorium, right? But the lady behind me is very angry. She does not like the fact that these young boys have cut the line. They've broken the rules of society, I guess, right? And she just starts talking mess. She's just talking trash right behind me. She's like, oh, really? Don't you just love it when people bring in their young guns to do their dirty work and they just shoving their way in? And she's just saying all these words. And I'm like, what is happening? And so Pastor Rachel and I are standing there, and we're just kind of like looking at each other. And then finally, like, I don't know how to not say all the words. That's just what I do. And so I turned around. I was like, excuse me, ma'am. I'm so sorry that these boys have cut up here in the line. I actually don't know them. They're not with our group. But, like, you're welcome to come on up here and get in front of us so that you can feel better and get your seat and be excited. You know, like, we're just here to learn about Jesus. So it's okay. Come on, you know. And she's like, no, I'm fine. I'm not mad at all. And I'm like, I can hear the words you're saying, so yeah, you are. And so Rachel's like, no, ma'am, come on, really, come, get in front of us. We'd love for you to be in front, it'd be all right. That way you can get your seat, you know, all things. No, I'm good. Well, sister is good because she got a plan. So the moment that the door opens and they start to let us in to go to our seat, this lady grabs both her hands and shoves me as hard as she can into the people in front of me. And I'm like, yeah, falling and tripping and like, who cares that I'm wearing 4-inch heels? That's fine. I'm still ready to fight. I can do it. I can handle it. I can take it, right? Pastor Rachel is like, excuse me, ma'am. She's like already taking her hoops off. You know, she's like trying to take her shoe. You know, she's about to throw it. And she's like, did you just shove her? We're in church, and do you see yourself right now? That's what she said. If I'm lying, I'm dying. This lady shoved me as hard as she could. And we're in church, but people be crazy. People be crazy. And if some church kids can get in a fight at a Jesus conference, then I think it is indeed good for us to thank God that he sits on the throne instead of me, instead of her. Jesus help her wherever she is. I hope she good. I hope she growing and all the more that God has for her. And if not, help her get off the throne, Lord, right? But as we've learned over the past 8 weeks, our confidence is found not when our plan is on the throne, but when God's plan is on the throne. Not when our preference is on the throne, but when God's preference for our life is on the throne. Not when our picture or our power or our protection is on the throne, but when we allow him to be the source of all of those things. That when he is the one that holds the purse in our life instead of us putting the purse on the throne, that he can do more with our little than we ever could on our own, right? But how often do we find ourselves when it comes to all those things that in the moment of decision, in the moment of like the internal dialogue, the struggle, we find ourselves being led and influenced to put things back on the throne. But he is the one that belongs on the throne. And I find myself all the time turning around, though, and realizing that I let other people's opinions, other people's thoughts, other people's input, other people's opinion, did I say it again? Opinion, sit on the throne. That's not where it belongs. But how often do we let people sit on the throne? We all put all kinds of different people on the throne. I think because in life, it begins when we're very young. There are people that we love, that we grow up next to, that we're influenced by. This is my mama. And the minute we're born, our mama is over us, helping us, keeping us alive, right? And so pretty quickly, she sits on the throne in our life, right? That can happen pretty easily. That your siblings, those that you're raised with, in relationship with, they can sit on the throne in your life. You know, when I was in middle school, how much, y'all, does media, and like now we have YouTube, but back then we just had like TGIF on Friday, you know. But we allow media, we allow TV, we allow those things to influence. And so y'all, clue clueless? Come on, can I get an amen? Like, was there any other people that thought Cher Horowitz's wardrobe was about to be their wardrobe one day when they grew up, right? And we are influenced by things that I was like, oh, if Elle Woods can go to college and become a lawyer with her cute little dog and her pink outfit, then I can be all that God's called me to be, right? And I can put that on the throne. We start aspiring and striving for things because of what we see, what we're influenced by around us. We start allowing other influences, other voices, other opinions to really change and shift the way we do the life that we live. When I got married, I remember that I was like, how do I do my house? I don't know, but thank God for Joanna Gaines. I can just see whatever she does, and we're going to put some shiplap on that and some shiplap on this, and everything's going to look good, right? And then in the world that we live in, like everybody, all these dudes trying to be Ryan Reynolds, all these girls trying to get with Ryan Reynolds, like, right? Because that's just like, this is what we look up to. This is what we aspire to be. This is what we aspire our life to look like. You know, when after we got married for a minute and I just kept buying all the things from Joanna Gaines, then I had to go and call Dave Ramsey and be like, bro, how do I do and fix my life? I got to fix my budget, and my husband is mad. The Amazon man came again in the middle of church. Like, come on, somebody, right? And so we are influenced by things. And then there's all kinds of pastors and leaders and teachers that we then on the internet can watch. We can allow them in, and they start influencing us. And we are like, oh, let me get another Michael Todd message in my soul. Let me get another little 3-point sermon to take me into Monday, into Tuesday, into Wednesday, right? And what they got a word for me today. We put all kinds of people on the throne. But here at More Church, we have a value that is to know each other and be known. You see, people are a big deal here to us at More Church. And it can be a little confusing where, Pastor Whitney, you're telling us not to put people on the throne, but then you're telling us that we're supposed to know each other and be known. Right. These are confusing things. I understand. But you see, God built us for community. He built us to be in relationship. That's an important part of creation. In fact, it's the very first thing that God said wasn't good, was for us to be alone. And so God wants us to be in relationship, to know each other, to be known. But known and throne are not the same thing. He calls us to be known, not to sit on each other's throne. But we put them on the throne all the time. We put them on a pedestal. We let their influence, their voice, their access shift and change things and circumstances, how we hear from God, how we allow things in our life to play out, the purpose and the plan that God has for our life. What do they think? What do they say? How does it align with what they're doing? And we compare and we look and we see and we put them on the throne, and their opinion can change our mind. Their approval can matter more to us than our own sanity. One comment from a friend can ruin our day. One phone call can send us back into temptation that we haven't struggled with in 6 months, but because they called and they're the one that always makes us feel a little bit like, oh, am I a loser now that I've said yes to Jesus? I'm not sure. But we can find ourselves stepping back into things we know we shouldn't because we've allowed people to sit on the throne. Proverbs 29:25 says, it is dangerous to be concerned with what other people think of you. But if you trust the Lord, you are safe. We think that if we trust some people, that we'll be safe. That if we allow them to influence us and help us, then we can align our life and make it all that we're hoping it will be. But it's dangerous to be concerned with what other people think. It's dangerous to our mind. It's dangerous to our emotions. It's dangerous to our future, y'all. Because finding our purpose in people, it will only lead us to pain. But I think the truth is it actually starts with the right intention. We put people on the throne because we love them. We put people on the throne because we care about them. And we want to make them happy. We want them to make us happy. The more we love people, in fact, the more I think it is easier for us to allow them to sit on our throne. Very quickly, we end up putting them in the wrong seat in our life because they're an important seat in our life. And then I think as people, we are just human. And so we think that we can receive from other people the things that will complete us. We think that people are there to help us get what we want, to help us get where we want to be. We want their love or their admiration. We want their attention. And we think that they will be the ones that are able to provide the things that we're missing. That like if I can handle the pressure from my boss, then he will be my provision, my promotion. I'll be able to get that corner office. I will be able to drive that car with the gas allowance. Like, I will be able to provide all the things I want to provide for my family if I can just take the pressure from him. Right? That if I'll do what my friends want and I'll agree with them all the time and I'll never really push back against things that I don't agree with, then I won't be lonely. And this loneliness that I feel deep inside, it actually won't overtake me anymore because I'll be connected to them and they'll make me feel a part. And so we're fighting and struggling for coffee dates with people that actually are never calling us back or actually ever wanting to have coffee with us. And the truth is, that's loneliness that only God can fill. But if I make my mom happy, then maybe I'll have peace. That if my dad says that he's proud of me, then maybe I will actually feel fulfilled in the job and in the life and in the things that I'm striving for. If my college friends, if they will just like my post on Instagram, if they will just comment, wow, so beautiful, amazing, right? Then I will feel amazing. Then I will have finally arrived. And so you're ordering like extra sides to your meal so that you can make a better picture for your post to look how fancy you are whenever we went to a restaurant for the first time, when really we know that $33 for lunch is absurd. But we look cool, and maybe we feel like we've arrived now. If I can keep my kids happy, if like they never yell at me, I hate you, well, okay, then they don't have to suffer through the life that I had to suffer through. They've already been through enough things, so all I want to do is keep them, happy and contained in the life that they're in right now, because the world here is crazy. And so I'm just going to keep them happy. I'm going to do anything that will make them smile, anything that will make them laugh. I'm not going to do anything that's hard for them because life is already hard enough. This is what we think. We want Jesus to be on the throne, but then we put all kinds of people on the throne. And their thoughts, their opinions, their worries, their fears become the things that drive the ways that we live and do and be and act and perceive things in front of us all the time. We want Jesus to be on the throne, but the truth is he's just way up there in heaven. He is not touchable and huggable. He does not look me in the eyes and say, thank you, mommy, you're the best, right? When I take coffee to my friend, they hug me and they're like, you're the greatest. And then they post about me on Instagram and everybody thinks I'm cool. But whenever I do what God's called me to do, I just am like, are you good? Do you like it? Are you proud of me? He doesn't audibly speak it to me right then and there. I think another reason we like to put people on our throne is because their expectations for us actually feel attainable. God is out of reach. He's up in heaven, but also he is so holy. And his expectation for me is holiness and righteousness. And that is really hard because I have to say no to a whole lot of things I want to say yes to. Because I have to go against the flow of what everybody else is doing. And so instead, I can align myself with them and they will make me feel like I'm doing a good job. I can align myself with their life and their choices and their opinions and their thoughts and feelings, and then I will feel included and a part, and I'm good. Rather than holy and righteous and redeemed, anointed and appointed for what he's called us to do. If I work hard enough, if I love them big enough, if I people please them just right, then they will love me and they will affirm me, and that will be enough. Can I tell you, that will never be enough. It will never be enough. Because there's a lot of dangers of putting people on the throne. We get it all twisted. Because what happens is we start assigning God's characteristics to man. And then man's characteristics to God. And we get it all confused and twisted and funky, and we do not live in the fullness of what God has for us in our life. We assign God's characteristics to man. You see, it is not our partner's job to complete us emotionally. It is not my husband's job to actually know and give me the desires of my heart. It is not the people on Facebook's job to see our post and think we're amazing and promote us and share us out to all the world and really get the word out about who we are. That's God's. It's not my friend's job to make me feel seen and safe and loved and affirmed. That is God's. But we give power that is God's to people who cannot handle the responsibility. They can't handle it. They're people. They're humans. The whole reason Jesus had to come to save us from our sins is because we're a bunch of sinful mess people. That's what we are. He says, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Because we were all a mess. We all had sinned, fallen short of his glory. But if you seek your affirmation from others, can I tell you, you'll always be disappointed. If you seek your joy from others, you will always be let down. If you try to find your peace and your purpose from them, you will never meet the full purpose of what God has for your life. You will always be disappointed. You will always get hurt. Because the truth is, your mom is just a lady. And she cannot handle the responsibility of being on your throne. She cannot make you feel like you're making the right choices, because the truth is, a lot of times she's judging you because she has a deep hurt in her life that she hasn't fully navigated, and that she can only heal from when she puts God on the throne. But if you let her off your throne, then you force her to have to deal with that thing, and then you force you to have to deal with what God's called you to do, who God's called you to be. Your friends cannot handle the responsibility, y'all, of being on your throne, of making you feel loved and admired and seen and affirmed. Only God fills those gaps. In fact, they're criticizing you all the time. It's really just because they're intimidated by your strength. And so if you'd be really willing to allow them off the throne, then they could grow into who they're meant to be, and you could grow into who you're meant to be, and then God's purpose would be fulfilled on earth. But instead, you're trying to be on each other's thrones, and then you start competing, and then it gets real janky, and that's not the purpose of what God has for us in our life. Can I tell you that your grown kids, Mom, your grown kids, Dad, I am sorry that they refuse to see the progress that you've made. I'm sorry that they don't see that you've stepped into more. I'm sorry. But they cannot validate that you have become who God has called you to be. And the truth is, if they actually admitted how great and how truly obedient to God you are, they'd have to look inward at themselves and see where they're not aligning with God's word, where they're not stepping into all of his more. And so if you'll just let them off your throne, then they can pursue what God has for them in their life, and you can continue to pursue the more that God has for you in your life, and y'all can actually encourage each other. Your husband cannot handle the responsibility of making you feel safe and worthy. Like, I love him, but he cannot find the mayo next to the ketchup. If he can't find the mayo, he is not going to be able to find all of the purpose and worthiness in my life. That's God's job. But men don't get mad, because ladies, dudes, she cannot fulfill all of the things that you need her to fulfill in your life in order for you to feel like a man. Because she cries at every chick flick, even though they're exactly the same. He gonna chase her down in the airport. They're gonna cry. They're gonna kiss. And say, oh, I'm sorry. They're gonna fall in love. They're gonna get married. She's still crying about it. We are not built to hold that responsibility. We are not created. We are a creation. We are not the creator. And so we are not responsible for those things. Can I tell you that if you keep looking for your dad's affirmation around every corner, you will never actually be satisfied. Because you keep going to job to job to job to try to climb the ladder to be affirmed. But the fact of the matter is, God's given you totally different giftings, talents, and abilities. He has a totally different calling and purpose for your life that he's just hoping and waiting for you, baby, to step into. But if you keep looking for daddy to say, hey, I'm so proud of you, instead of your heavenly Father and the purpose that he has for you, you will always be left disappointed. Because your dad cannot handle that responsibility. He's not built to handle that responsibility. Your kids are kids. They cannot sit on your throne. They cannot take the trash out, even though you reminded them 4 times. They cannot find their shoes when it's time to go. Can I get an amen? Can we all just get some shoe bins, put them right by the front door? Both of them go in here. 2. You have to have both of them or we can't go nowhere. They're kids. But you get so worked up and upset whenever they don't do it exactly the way you wanted them to do it, whenever they don't look exactly the way, whenever they don't say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, and thank you, and oh, man, and you take it so personally. You get so panicked about who they will be that you distance yourself from who they actually are right now because you've got them on your throne. It's good. You can clap. It's good. And we can't handle the responsibility of being on the throne for our kids. We were made to steward them. We were not made to be their savior. We cannot save them. Only God can. We cannot do it right and get them to hear us. We can't keep them safe. Only God can. That's not our job. But when we put people on the throne, we assign God's characteristics to man. And then it gets real janky and real dangerous because we assign man's characteristics to God. And now God is not trustworthy. Now God is disappointing. Suddenly, our loving and kind God who sent his son before we ever even wanted him around, he is an angry God waiting to crush us. Oh, wait, that's not who our God is. But when we've assigned human characteristics to a holy God, suddenly we think God is insecure, that God is competitive, that God is petty. He is not petty. He is God, and he is not manipulative. He requires your obedience, but he's not going to manipulate you into doing something, being anything. God is a gentleman. That's who our God is. He is holy and perfect, and he is nothing like man. Thank God for that. Hebrews 10:23 reminds us God can be trusted to keep his promises. I know they didn't keep their promises, but thank God we have a God who will. Deuteronomy 31:8, he will never leave you or forsake you. I know that they all bailed. I've been in a year of people bailing. Can I tell you, my God never has, though, and he never will. Hebrews 13:8, Jesus Christ, he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Thank you, Lord, because people change their mind all the time. Because yesterday was time change, and so they were planning to go to church, but then they were tired, and so then they said, never mind, and then they bailed on Tim and Enrique for the plan where they're supposed to show up a planning center because they bail and they change their mind all the time. That's what people do. They're people. I ain't mad at you. That's just what you do because you're human. Me too. But our God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Thank God for that. But this trick of the enemy, this battle of who's sitting on the throne, this is not like a new problem. It's not like a 2023 post-COVID problem. This is like a tale as old as actually the beginning of time. Because Eve in the garden, she allowed the snake to sit on her throne. And even though God said, you can have all of this except this one tree, the snake was like, did God really say? And she's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe he didn't. I don't know. Huh. And then she went over to Adam and she was like, hey, baby, I think we ought to eat this apple from this tree because then we're going to know all the things and we're going to be as awesome as God. And so why don't we do that? And he was like, you know what, baby? I think that I'm going to put you on the throne instead of God who created all this and put me here. Right? Samson, y'all. Samson, buddy. That lady, Delilah, dude, she like 3 or 4 times is like, tell me the secret of your strength. And then he doesn't tell her the truth at first, and so he tells her something, and then she does the thing to try to make him not strong. And then he breaks out of it, and then she's like, you lied to me. And he's like, I know, but you're so pretty and hot, and so I'll just tell you it again. And then she's like, no. And so it keeps going. And then he does. And then, hello, bro. Ruined your whole life. Because the plan and purpose of what God has called you to be and do, he has specifically for you, not her. But she was on the throne. And so he put her there. And then he let her win. Oh, man. Whoo, what a mess. Moses let the 10 spies' voices be louder than Caleb and Joshua. And the truth is, I believe it, even though the Bible doesn't say it, the knower that he had deep in his heart. Like God made him the leader, and he knew who his leader dudes were. He knew he should listen to that Caleb spirit. He knew he should listen to what Joshua had to say, but he let the crowd be louder. And so the journey that should have taken 11 days took 40 years. It's a tale as old as time. And then his brother Aaron, when Moses went up to get those 10 commandments off the mountain, his brother Aaron was just like, you're right, people. Where even is God? Like, I know he parted the sea and we walked through it. None of those sharks got us. None of those fishies even came and messed with us. I didn't even get my hair wet. But Bro, yeah, just give me all your gold. Let's make a golden idol. Let's worship that instead. Brother, what are you doing, right? But we do it all the time. We put people on the throne in place of God. And so you're not a loser. I'm not a loser. They did it too. It's a struggle that we all have to face, but we all have to look in the eye and say, hey, I am not going to allow those people to be on my throne. But how do I know who is on the throne, Pastor? Well, that's a great question. Whose voice is loudest? Who, when you make a decision, are you like, but you know what they're going to say? Who, when you have to make that phone call, do you get that pit in your stomach like, oh, I don't want to talk about it with them. They're not going to like it. Who, when you speak up, gives you the most like pushback, not about what God has to say, but what they think? Whose words have you allowed to have the most weight in your life? When your boss flips through your presentation and you get to like the 10th slide and he's like, hey, can you adjust this thing? And I think that it will actually sound better if you go like that. You spend the rest of the day like, I can't believe he didn't understand the work that I did and I don't get it and I'm so frustrated and maybe I shouldn't even be at this job anymore and no one appreciates me, nobody sees me. Hey, your boss is on your throne, y'all. Like, who is it that can get you emotionally, mentally spooled up so hard? Who is it that makes a Facebook comment on your post or just makes a post? And you just get all worked up on the inside about what they said or what they didn't say, what you wish they said. If your mood shifts because their mood shifts, they might sit on the throne in your life. If someone has control over your mind, emotions, and actions, it's likely that they are on the throne in your life. And I think that some people are easier to identify. Like, it's easier to identify certain people that sit on our throne because, again, I think the heart of putting people on our throne actually starts with good intentions. It's people that we love. This is my man, y'all. OG 2002. Oops. And so, like, I care what he thinks about me. I care if he thinks this looks good or if I'm just wearing my pajamas to church. Like, I care what he has to say. I care about my kids. I care about their opinion. I definitely ask them what they think about what I wear or what's going good, right? I love them. I care about them. I want them to think that I'm the best mom ever, right? This is what we want. And then there are other people in our life that matter a lot to us. Our close friends, our people that really we go to in all kinds of times of need, are people that we do our life with. Who is your circle? Who are you around the most? There, Rach, I'll put you right there. And then, like, for me, it can be a little confusing because this is, like, my brother, my pastor, my friend, my boss. Like, there's a whole lot of things. And so, like, I'll put them way up high up here because, like, if I'm not careful, then it's real easy to excuse away why he sits on my throne. Because that's, like, my job and my calling and my purpose, right? We have to be really careful and wise. You know, there are elders at this church. What's up, Lava? There are directors here, and they give a lot of wisdom to this house. I'm so grateful to be submitted under their authority, but you know, it's easy to really care a lot about what they think about me. Not what they think about a certain decision for the church, but what they think about me. And then if they say something that like makes me like, ooh, insecure, or like, oh, they didn't like that decision. Oh, they didn't like me. This is what I start to think. Oh, they don't think I'm qualified. Oh, they don't think I'm worthy. Oh, they don't. And my mind can start to spiral. And I know you've probably been there. You've done it too. Because in our life, there are people we care about. And the more we care about them, the more we care about what they think about what we do and what we say. And we can justify it really easily because we just want to be a good boss. This is a lot of the team here at More Church. And you know, especially on days like today, Like, y'all weren't here in first service, but, like, there was, like, a square that was, like, black the whole, like, LED wall time. And, like, Chris's, like, guitar, something happened, and poor Caden is running around with cords trying to plug them in. Because, like, this setup and teardown thing isn't easy, y'all. It's not easy. And right before I came to preach, I told Rachel, I said, hey, will you just pray for me that I would just, like, I just feel this heaviness for all that they're carrying. And so, like, I've got them on my throne a little bit right now. And I'm, like, worried too much about how they feel today, that I might not actually be able to perform the job that God's asked me to do today, because I'm letting what they're walking through really affect what I'm walking through, instead of recognizing that they are called, qualified, and anointed by God. That they said yes to the purpose and plan that He has for their life. And that He might be teaching them something right now in the middle of the difficulty and the trial that they're facing. And that I just need to shut up and sit down and do my job and let them do their job and stop trying to fix and solve everything for everybody all the time. But we put them on our throne because we love them and we care about them and we want them to be pleased with us. This is a church because it represents church people, because I'm not silly and going to put people's actual faces on it. But, y'all, church people are the best. And then sometimes they're the worst. And it can get really easy for me to allow one email, one text message, one person who says, I don't even understand why you did it the way you did it, to get me so caught up in thinking I'm not doing what God's asked me to do. That one person leaves the church and I want to leave my whole purpose and calling if I have them on my throne. And not just church people here, church people out there that say, oh, I don't affirm your practices of ministry because you a lady and he a dude, and that's confusing. And I am honest with you, gonna be honest with you, it took me 6 months to stop thinking about that late at night and wondering what I could do to earn their affirmation and approval. When God's like, sister, I already called and qualified you. What are you trying to do? Why are you trying to let them sit on your throne? But we do it because we're trying to be the best and step into the most more that God has for our life. And so, like, this is my counselor, Dave. And Dave is the best. But I can let what Dave says and what Dave thinks really start to take over, and I can get obsessed with, does he think that I am dealing with my trauma in the best way that I possibly could deal with my trauma? And what about, am I a good student? Am I still learning well? And I can get wrapped up because I've got a counselor who I've invited into my life to sit on my throne. And so we have to be very careful, very, very intentional to not allow the things that we see to affect us, to overwhelm us. And the truth is, I know we keep saying that we need to get people off of our throne, but can I tell you that this week as I was studying, God kept saying that some of us need to identify that we are on other people's thrones. Maybe we've asserted ourselves there, or maybe somebody has put us there. Because we can help, because we're just trying to love them well. I don't care how spiritual or smart or well-intentioned you are, you do not belong on their throne. And some of us need to take the step to say, hey, I don't belong on your throne. Hey, I love you, I'm for you, but that is not my seat. That is not where I fit. That is not what I need to do. We want to save them, but we are not their savior. We are just trying to help, but the truth is we are not where their help comes from. God is the one who sits on our throne and their throne too. We need to know it and they need to know it. We got to check ourselves before we get it twisted so that when people run to you, you don't cause hurt unintentionally because you're human. Remind them where their help comes from. Okay, Pastor, all of that is great. Okay, I kind of see, I can think of a couple people. All right, cool. Now what do I do? How do I get people off my throne? Well, we have to evaluate the seat they actually belong in our life. There are 3 seats that I want us to talk about right now in here that we have the throne. But there are some seats that we want to really put people in, this is where they belong. They don't belong on the throne. Only Jesus belongs on the throne. But not everyone in our life belongs in the same seat. It's a very important distinction. Jesus is our Savior and our Lord. So he is our Lord. He has all control. That's what we talked about. The throne means control. He has all control over our life. But there is a next seat next to it called the seat of authority. And authority and control are not the same. Authority is borrowed from control. If someone's in control, then they can give someone authority to execute the rules and the standards that they've set in place. And that's what our God does. 1 Peter 2:13 and 14 says, submit yourself for the Lord's sake to every human authority, whether the emperor, the supreme authority, or to the governors. Can I tell you, whether you voted one way or not, whether you agree one way or not, we are in a country where we have authority that we have to obey. We work at jobs where we have authority that we have to obey. We submit ourselves under different leadership where we have to, we're saying, hey, I've submitted myself here. They're an authority that we have to obey. Hebrews 13:17 says, have confidence in your leaders and submit to their authority because they keep watch over you as those who must give an account. They have to give an account. You don't have to do anything that goes against what God's word says. But you do have to submit yourself to the authority in the places that you have put yourself in. And they have to give an account for the kind of leader that they are. That's why as leaders, it's so important that we are closest to God. Because when we borrow our control from God, then we will be most like him in the way that we lead other people. But if we are not submitted under God's authority, if we're not close to him, then who knows how we're going to lead. That's why we got to pray for our leaders. That's why we got to encourage the people around us. That's why we have to ourselves put ourselves close to God. But we are not the creator. We are his creation. He put us in this world, and he is giving us authority over certain things. You see, when I got married, my husband became my authority in my home. The Bible tells us, wives, submit to your husbands, right? Now, dudes, before you go home and start being like, listen, I am the authority. Listen, Bible also says that men should give up their lives for their wives. So pay attention to all the word, all the word. But I want to talk to some ladies in the room for a minute, because can I tell you that sometimes our hurt and our past and our pain makes it so that we are misindependent. And I don't want to be told nothing. But a marriage is more than a ring and a wedding. And so we have to do some work to allow the men in our life to submit ourselves under their authority. That's why it's important, men, for you to be in church, to be here, to be leading your family. As for me and my house, because the closer you are to God, the more you will leave your wife and your family under the authority of God. It's a very important step. But it's more than just our husbands. Like I said it before, like Pastor Trustin is my pastor. He's my boss. And so in that context, in this place, he is my authority. Now, that doesn't mean that he is going to be the authority of the decisions I make in my home. However, he's going to have rules and standards that are set for me at being a part of this job. You're going to have rules and standards wherever you work, and you have to submit yourself under that authority. Here in this house, another thing I'm so grateful for is the authority of the leadership of this house. The directors who make decisions, who help us with making financial decisions and contracts that we sign. And that's why when some of y'all email me, I can just be like, Kyle Vinson said yes to this. It's his fault, not mine. Right? That's good. Can I tell you there's freedom in authority? In submitting yourself under the right authority in life, there's freedom when I can say to Lova, like, hey, I'm so grateful for the spiritual authority that you are in my life. I'm so grateful that I know that if I start acting a fool up here, or if I say something out of context in scripture, you're going to be like, hey, Pastor Whit, that was not right. You need to go check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? But there is so much freedom when we submit ourselves under that authority. If you're a partner of this house and you've signed a card and you've said, hey, I submit myself under the authority and leadership of this house. Now, you're trusting and knowing and believing that we're going to follow what God's word says, but that is why that is the spiritual authority over something that you see maybe on YouTube or on TV because he's got a good word from the Lord, but you don't know him. You're not under his authority of his house, and so you have to be careful to really pay attention. What is the authority that God's called in my life? My mama used to sit in this seat. When I lived in her house, she was my authority. Moms and dads, some of us are in this season walking through right now with our kids going, okay, you're becoming an adult now, so where do you belong? Where do I belong in your life? Can I tell you that for me, I had to move my mama over here to this next seat. This next seat is called the seat of advisor. An advisor is one that you've invited in to give wisdom, to speak into. You've said, hey, pull up a seat at my table, and I would like you to speak into certain areas of my life. We can have spiritual advisors. We can have workout advisors. We can have people who are advising us in the classes that we should take in college. We have different advisors in our life. But can I tell you, the reason my mama sits in this seat now is because she loves God. And she's submitted to the Holy Spirit. And so I can trust her spiritual advisement because I know she is submitted to the control of God. And so we have to understand the seat that we sit in. You know, here at More Church, we say we know each other and be known. And this advisor seat is a big deal in that value. The reason we have life groups is so that you have a table of people that you can invite in to speak into your life, that you can invite into certain circumstances and situations. Can I tell you how many times I call my friend Rachel and I say, Rachel, I just need 5 minutes. Girl, I got to tell you what is going on. Now, you let me complain for 5 minutes, and then you tell me what's truth. This is what we do. Because I need to hear truth instead of my emotions. And I trust you enough because I know you're submitted to God that you will tell me what's truth and what's me being crazy. And so we have to have advisors in our life that we can speak to. Right now in this season, Dave is a counselor that I've invited in to some of the emotional things in my life, some of the steps that I want to take next into more that God has called me to in my life. He's one to help me balance those things. He's given me some tools, but the truth is, he's an advisor. So if something he says doesn't necessarily line up with something I know my authority would say, where do I go? Who do I listen to? Well, see, there's a order of which it is lined. See how I did that? It's very nice. And so your authority has to affirm what your advisors are saying. That's how we double check ourselves so we don't wreck ourselves, y'all. I'm telling you, it's an important step in life. Proverbs 15:22 says, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. If we can get some advisors in our life, we can succeed. Did you know that our staff team is actually great advisors in my life? You know why? Because I don't know how to do kids ministry better than Marisa does. So when it comes to that area of my life, I say, hey, I would love to have some advice, Marisa, about how we do what we do in kids ministry. Philip, how do you think worship is going? What do you think about the vibe of the songs that we sing? What do you think about how people are entering into the presence of God? Because you know more about worship and singing than I do, and so let me get some advice from you. And so the truth is, when we are leading and we are submitted to God and we have it in proper alignment, then people we're leading can be advisors too. We don't have to be intimidated or insecure. We can go to them and say, hey, I humble myself. I would like to receive from you, and I know you're going to receive from me. That's how the body of Christ works. That's the beautiful piece of the church. So then this next seat, well, what is this? Well, this is the attendees section. And there's 3 of them if you notice, because more people belong here than they do anywhere else. Last night we went to the rodeo, the American rodeo. Y'all, I just like to wear my cowboy boots and my cool hat. I don't know a whole lot about rodeo. In fact, I don't know nothing. And so they were like doing bull riding and then like roping stuff, and then they were doing horse riding and different things, right? And there were times when I was just cheering like, go, 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 go. I have no idea what the rules are. One guy like got disqualified, and I was like, what? That is so ridiculous. And Aaron's like, no, look, he didn't make the time. I'm like, What? I don't even know what time. What time? But how many times in our life do we let people sit in this seat or even this seat when the truth is they have no perspective of anything in our life? They don't know the rules. They don't know the plays. They don't understand where I've been. They don't know what I'm walking through. They don't know nothing. They just make a comment. It's real sticky. They just make a comment on Facebook, and I am in a spiral, but really they belong right here. They belong right here in this seat because they're just an attendee. They're just someone. Look, Dave Ramsey, he got some great wisdom. But if it don't line up with the wisdom of what we're trying to do in this season, I cannot die on the hill to my husband of, well, Dave Ramsey said we had to do it. He don't know your life. He don't know your budget. He don't know where you live. My sister is an advisor in my life, and she has a lot of great perspective, a lot of great things. And I just don't want to leave her out, so I'm going to put her over there. Okay. We have to understand the seat that they sit in. And yet, how many times do people up in the nosebleeds shout things out at us, and we take it as like gospel and change and shift the trajectory of the plans that God's placed in our life for us to do because they yelled it and then we're insecure now all of a sudden. But the truth is, they're in the cheap seats. They paid $35 to be here. You have no investment in my life. Do you know that I've been knowing Lova for 12 years? She's been through some junk with me. Why am I going to let somebody on Instagram say something that's going to derail me when I know who God has said that I am? I know what the plans and purposes are for my life, and I have authority in my life that backs me up. But we do it all the time. And really, guys, like all the media, social media, all the people, like, well, okay, I'll just move them over here. But we allow things to be in the wrong seat all the time, I think, because we just want to be affirmed. We want the crowd to cheer. But they don't know our life, and so they might be cheering for something that is literally leading to our destruction. And so it's important that we evaluate the seats that they sit in. It is dangerous to be concerned with what other people think of you. But if you trust in the Lord, you're safe. So don't get all stressed out when someone said they didn't like your outfit or your decision. When they didn't like the job you took, they didn't work at your job. They don't know your plan. They don't have a clue. But they're going to tell you, well, why did you go there? It looks like on social media that job is better than this job. And I heard that somebody said that one time that somebody over there got mad at somebody over here. They do not know. That's called hearsay. But we have to move people to the correct spaces in order to put them in the seat they belong in our life. There's one more seat that I think is an important seat for us to understand. Thank you, Kyle. There's another throne that people can sit on, or really that we can throw them into. And I came up with some A words, but they were not holy words. And so I was like, well, we are not going to put that on the screen today in church. But there are different seats that people can sit on. And can I tell you, most of the things you see here, YouTube, on media, even like Joanna's nice, but like, come on, y'all. Like, we have to understand sometimes these things, these people, they're just toxic to our life. They're not only like shouting things that we don't need to listen to, they're like actually doo-doo, poo-poo, toxic, smells bad in our life, and if we don't just flush it down where it belongs, then we're going to let it in to affect us, and we are going to actually end up with a life that smells not like what God wants for us. It smells bad. Yeah, because it is bad. Put it where it goes. Put it in the garbage where it goes. Don't listen to it anymore. Don't allow yourself to speak to it anymore. And the truth is, there are people that belong right here that we give so much space to. I love you. I love all y'all. But in my personal life, sometimes I have to recognize they're just attendees of my life. They've never had coffee with me. They've never asked me about me. They don't know me. And you have people in your life that need to move to this seat, that you've allowed them into your inner circle, and it's causing you anxiety where it shouldn't. It's causing you to second guess the plan and purpose God has for you. It's causing you to doubt the words that God told you when you were abiding, because you said, they're good people. I know they're good people, but they love God. I know they love God. They hear from him. I know they do, but they do not hear God from God for you. And so they're good people, but they belong right here. And then, this is a big one. It's important. Moms and dads, can I tell you, in the season that you're raising your kids, they belong in this seat too. And I know you don't like it, because you want to worry about what they think and how they feel. But can I tell you that I have counseled so many people who are so frustrated because my kids, but they don't want to, and they don't want to go. And they don't like to, and they won't do it. And they won't, hello, you are their authority. And as much as you love them and care about them, they do not belong here, and they do not belong here. And if you will put them in the seat that they actually belong in one day, when they are an authority in someone else's life, they will be so grateful that you did. I know that it's hard to get to youth on Wednesdays. I know that they went one time and somebody didn't talk to them. Okay, try again. This is what we do, moms and dads. We're the ones to help them understand the goodness that God has for them, to point them in the right direction, to bring them closest to who God says that they are, so when they lead one day, they're borrowing his authority in their life. It's so important. And some of us bend one direction and some of us bend another. So I just want to talk about it real fast and then we'll be done. But some of us, because of our hurt and our pain, we like to put everybody in the seat of authority. We just wanted somebody to help us know what to do and how to do it, because for so long in our life, we craved some authority and someone to actually care and speak into us. And so we're real willing to put anybody here. And that's a dangerous thing to do, because then it's very confusing who to listen to and where to listen. And so we have to be careful to put people in the right seat. But some of us put everybody here because we've been hurt, because we've been disappointed. And so we ain't gonna be told nothing. And ain't nobody gonna be my authority, and ain't nobody gonna give me their advice. And this week, God is like, hey, I want you to know each other and be known. I want you to have people who speak wisdom and truth into your life. I want you to have people that care about you and wrap you up in love and grace and truth, but I want them in the right seat in your life. And so some of us need to do some spring cleaning. We need to look around and say, okay, where do they belong? What seat do they belong in my life? I've got a whole lot of people over here. I got to spread it out. I've been putting people here for so long that do not belong here, and I need to move it so that God is the only person on this throne. I need to change it and shift it and submit to the authority in my life. I need to listen to what they have to say. I need to say, hey, will you help me in this season? Will you hold me accountable? Because that's what I need. I need people in my life that I can listen to their wisdom. And I need to move some people to attendee. I need to remind myself that they don't know my life. That this is not The Price is Right. And they might be shouting something, but if I decide that the laundry soap is only $2.85, I am not going to get on the winner row. I'm not going to, because I yelled out the words that they yelled. They don't know. They don't know. And some people, you got to flush their words down the toilet. And the next time you hear them, you got to flush them again. You got to unfollow some people on Facebook. You got to unfollow some people on Instagram. You got to put your TikTok away. Shut that junk down so that you can hear properly where people belong in your life.